going to set up our attack animation. Alright, so before we start on the attack animation, I just want to make sure that you have the airborne_back blend tree all set up. So just like we did with the airborne front, we create a new blend tree, okay? And we'll go ahead and rename it to airborne_B. And you want to make sure that you set up your motion field, so you need 5 of those. And then you'll want to input the animation clips in the order that you see here. Turn off automated thresholds, so that way you can type in the thresholds. And then you'll want to change your parameter to V-speed. With all of that set up, if you set it up properly, we should be able to go ahead and jump with no issues. Now, one other thing, if we go back to our base layer, you need to make sure that you have your transition set up. So from grounded back, your transition to the airborne should be is grounded to false. And then back to the grounded back, it should be is grounded true. And then here, in between the airborne states, you'll want to make sure that you have facing right set to true, that's going to airborne front, and then the opposite if it's going to airborne back. Okay, so that should be everything that you need to set up your jump. Now what we want to do is we want to get into the attack. Now the attack is going to be a little bit different because the attack animation should be able to happen no matter what the player is doing. So if the player is running, he should be able to attack. If the player is jumping, he should be able to attack. And so in order for this to work, we're going to have to create what's called an avatar mask. And so it's just going to control the arm that the knight is swinging, and then it should go ahead and play even if we're running. So in order to do something like this, we need to add another layer. The layer that we're going to create is called attack. We're going to set the weight to 1, and then we need an avatar mask for this. Now we haven't created an avatar mask yet, so let's go ahead and do that now. Let's go to our models, and inside of our models folder we're going to right click, create, and then we're going to say avatar mask. Now I know that was off screen, but it's there. Go ahead and give it a name, and we're going to call this knight attack. So double click on that, and it should bring it up in your inspector here. And you'll see that we have humanoid and we have transform. Now we're not working with a humanoid rig, if you'll remember. We're working with a generic rig. So we need to use the transform options here. So it's going to ask for what avatar we're using this with, and we're going to click on that. We're going to go with our Ghost Knight rig avatar. Now once that has been put in, we want to import the skeleton, and you'll see everything has been set up here. And then we're going to tell it what is going to be masked off. What are we using? So anything that is unchecked is going to be unused, and it's going to be unaffected. So let's go to this model, let's collapse it and turn it off. So we're going to uncheck that. We don't need anything from the model. Now from the root, this is all the bones. Okay, so from the root we're going down to the chest, the shoulders, the forearms, and the wrist. Okay, all of that looks to be okay to use. Okay, so the sword is going to be in his right hand, and so we'll go ahead and we'll leave all of that the way it is. Now we'll go down to the neck and the head. We could go ahead and use that if we wanted to, but I'm going to go ahead and actually hide that. I don't want to override the head whenever we're doing the attack. He could be jumping up into the air, things like that. So let's go ahead and leave that alone. Let's take care of, let's go ahead and override, let's see, we'll override the left shoulder, everything in that, and then also in the right shoulder, everything down from there. Now this is going to be all of the fingers, that's fine. We don't want to override the pelvis and everything below that. So we're going to leave the legs and the thighs alone. Okay. So just the right shoulder on down and the left shoulder on down. Okay. So once that has been set up, all we have to do is go ahead and just collapse that, and that's been created. Now we can go to our mask under our attack in the animator, and we can select Knight Attack. Now here we want to decide if we want it to be an override animation or if we want it to just be additive. In our case, we're going to do override, and what that's going to do is it's just going to completely ignore any animations on the base layer, okay, and then it's going to override what is on the attack layer, okay, based on the avatar mask. So it's only going to look for those arm animations that we had. Alright, so with this set, we should be ready to go. Let's go ahead and collapse that. And in our attack layer, which is where we're at, we're going to bring in the attack animations. So let's go to the Anim Clips Ghost Attack, and you'll see that we have two. We have back and we have front. So let's set the back, and then let's also set the front. Okay. Now with this, there's a little bit of a dilemma, because the attack, what it's going to do is it's going to try to play that from the very beginning. So what we want to do is we want to make sure that that is set to default, or it's actually set to null. We don't want any one of these playing until it's actually called. So what we'll do is we'll create an empty state, okay, and just leave it called new state. Right click on it and set as default. So that way it's not going to do anything until we tell it to. Now we're going to right click and make a transition to the Night Attack front and the Night Attack back. So the conditions that we want for this, okay, on this transition, we want to say if it's facing right and if we're attacking. Now we don't have a parameter for that, so let's go ahead and create that. And the attacking, we're going to set it as a trigger. So it could happen at any time, and we just don't want it to set it to true and false and back and forth. We're just going to make it a trigger. So now select that transition, and actually let's create another condition on this. So add one, and let's call this attacking, and if that trigger is being hit, it's going to go ahead and go to this. Let's make the transition to go back, and let's just leave that set to exit time. Now on this transition, we'll do facing right is false, and then also attacking, okay, and then we'll make a transition back for the exit time. And there we go. So now we have this set up. Now what we want to do in the next lesson is we want to create the script that is going to